Hello, and welcome to Forge College. Today, we are bringing everything together in our final lesson for this module, Proof of Work Validation and Synthesis. We've already seen that changing the blockchain is incredibly expensive. To rewrite history, an attacker has to spend an enormous amount of electricity and computing power to redo the work of the honest network. But how does a regular, everyday computer, a node, verify that all that work actually happened? It needs a way to prove those millions of dollars in energy were spent without having to waste that same energy doing the math itself. Think of our node as a paranoid master craftsman. He sits at a conveyor belt as orange metal plates, our blocks, roll toward him. He's not letting anything into his vault until it passes a strict inspection. Validation follows an ordered checklist designed to toss out cheap fakes at the door. This ensures that only blocks backed by proven, high-cost math can enter the chain. Brisk, efficient pace. The checklist starts with the easy stuff, the quick visual inspection. Our craftsman looks at the surface of the plate for basic markings. This is the header and timestamp check. The node makes sure the block is formatted correctly and that the time recorded on it is within an allowed range, not too far in the past and not in the future. If the time is impossible, or if the plate tries to link to a previous block the node has never seen, it gets rejected instantly. These cheap checks save the node from wasting time on obvious garbage. Now for the heavy lifting. This is the weight test, where we check the actual math behind the work. The node runs the block's information through a function to get a unique mathematical fingerprint. It then compares this result to a specific target number set by the network. Think of this target as a weight requirement. If the fingerprint's number is small enough, the scale dips. This proves the miner actually spent the massive effort required to find that specific result. Because this math is a one-way street, the fingerprint acts as an unforgeable receipt, guaranteeing the miner paid the real-world cost in electricity and hardware. By putting these cheap visual checks before the heavy math test, the node stays efficient. It only bothers weighing the blocks that look legitimate at first glance. Once the plate passes the weight test, the craftsman pulls out his magnifying glass. He's looking at the summary stamp of every transaction, known as the Merkle root. The node checks every single transaction inside the block, confirming that the coins being moved actually exist and that the digital signatures are valid. If even one tiny transaction is a double spend or breaks a rule, the entire heavy plate is rejected. The craftsman doesn't care how much the plate weighs if the ledger inside is fraudulent. Finally, the node has to decide where this block goes. Sometimes two different people might show up with two different stacks of plates, leading to a conflict over which history is the real one. The node resolves this by calculating the total stack weight, or cumulative work. It adds up the difficulty of every single plate in the stack to find a final number. This is where the math protects us. A stack of many light plates will still weigh less than a few heavy plates. An attacker can't span thousands of easy blocks to win. They must match the total energy spent by the honest network. The rule is simple. The node always follows the stack with the most total weight. This chain is the hardest to forge, making it the most secure version of history. To recap, our craftsman checks the time and format, weighs the math fingerprint, verifies every transaction, and then adds the block to the heaviest stack. This sequence forces an attacker to pay a real price in time and energy. Without satisfying every step, their blocks are simply ignored by every node on the network. This checklist is how we turn the idea of security into a working reality. Every block that passes these tests is another layer of armor protecting the network. Now that you know the rules, you're ready to see how actual node software handles these tasks in the real world. In our next lesson, we'll look at the roles and responsibilities of different types of nodes. This video was made by Forge College. To learn more about node architecture and the world of Web3, visit our website at forge.college. We'll see you in the next lesson.